Here's a question that might make you uncomfortable. If your income stopped tomorrow, completely, how long could you survive before things started falling apart? For most people, that answer is somewhere between 2 weeks and 30 days. Not because they don't earn enough, not because life is too expensive, but because of one invisible pattern that quietly drains everything they make before they even notice it's gone. And here's the scary part. Most people who fall into this pattern aren't reckless spenders. They're not buying yachts or flying business class. They're just paying rent, buying food, going out a couple of times a month, and somehow by the 25th of every month, the account is nearly empty. Sound familiar? Hi, I'm Adrian, and I've spent more time than I'd like to admit studying why so many hardworking people earn a steady income, yet still struggle to build real savings. On this channel, we explore the psychology behind money and the simple systems that make building wealth easier to understand. If that's the kind of content you're looking for, consider subscribing. And if you enjoy today's video, I'd really appreciate a like. If it does sound familiar, you're not alone. And it's not a character flaw, it's actually something deeply rooted in how our brains are wired to think about money. But here's what almost nobody tells you. There's a dead simple framework, one that takes less than 10 minutes to set up, that can completely change the way your money moves. And once you see it, you'll wonder why no one showed you this sooner. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. And today we're going to break it down in a way that actually makes sense, even if you have absolutely nothing saved right now. Let's talk about why most budgets fail before they even start. Picture this. It's the first of the month. You just got paid. You feel that tiny rush, that brief sense of possibility. Okay, this month, I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to save something. So you do a rough calculation in your head. Rent, utilities, groceries. You think you've got it covered. You even set a little goal, maybe put aside $200 or $300 this time. But then something happens. A friend's birthday dinner, an Amazon impulse buy, your Spotify, your Netflix, your Hulu, all hitting in the same week. Gas is up again. You grab DoorDash twice because you were too tired to cook. That one thing you told yourself you'd buy just this once. And slowly, quietly, the money disappears. Not in one dramatic moment, but in 100 small ones. By the end of the month, you're back to zero. Again, here's what most people do in this situation. They blame themselves. They tell themselves they need to spend less. They download a budget app, track expenses for 3 days, get overwhelmed and quit. And the cycle repeats. But the real problem isn't discipline. The real problem is the system, or rather, the complete absence of one. You see, most people manage money the same way. They earn, they spend on what feels urgent, and they try to save whatever is left, which most months is nothing. This is called the spend first, save later trap, and psychologists have a name for it. It's called present bias. Our brains are naturally wired to feel today's needs more intensely than tomorrow's possibilities. So every time you leave saving as an afterthought, your brain loses. Every single time. The 50-30-20 rule exists to work around exactly this flaw. So what is the 50-30-20 rule? It's a simple way to divide every single dollar you earn into 3 clear buckets. And the magic isn't in the math. It's in the psychology of knowing exactly where your money is going before you spend it. Let's break it down. The first bucket is 50%, your needs. This is the non-negotiable stuff. Rent or mortgage, groceries, your car payment and gas, health insurance, utilities, your phone bill. These are the things your life genuinely cannot function without. The rule says these should never exceed half of your take-home income. Think of it like this. Imagine your income is a full glass of water. Half of that glass is already spoken for. It belongs to survival. The moment your rent or your car payments start eating up more than half the glass, you don't have a spending problem. You have an income or a cost of living problem. And that's a completely different conversation. The second bucket is 30%, your wants. This is the part people either ignore completely or completely overindulge. Going out to eat. Your Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus stack. Clothes you don't strictly need. Weekend bar tabs. Concert tickets. Gym memberships you're halfway using. Subscriptions you forgot were even running. These aren't bad things, they're human things. The mistake isn't enjoying your money. The mistake is letting this bucket quietly expand until it swallows everything else. 30% is your permission slip to enjoy life. But it's also a boundary. When you hit it, you stop. Not because you're punishing yourself, but because you've already given yourself room to breathe. The third bucket is 20%, your future. This is where everything changes. This 20% doesn't belong to today's version of you. It belongs to the version of you that's 6 months from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now. This bucket covers three things: emergency savings first, then high-interest debt like credit cards if you're carrying any, and finally, long-term wealth building. And here's the critical mindset shift. This 20% doesn't come last. It comes first. The moment your paycheck lands, 20% moves before you pay a single bill, before you buy a single thing. This is what financial experts call paying yourself first. Because here's the truth. If you wait until the end of the month to save what's left, there will never be anything left. Present bias will make sure of that. Now let's zoom out for a second. Because the 50-30-20 rule isn't just a budgeting tool, it's actually a behavioral design system. Think about how most decisions in life work. When there are no rules, we default to feeling. And feelings, especially about money, almost always favor the present. But when we have a pre-decided structure, before we feel the pull of temptation, before the new gadget drops, before our friends suggest a spontaneous trip, our decisions come from logic, not emotion. Psychologists call this decision architecture, and the best financial habits aren't built on willpower. They're built on making the right choice, the easy choice, before the temptation even shows up. The 50-30-20 rule does exactly this. When you decide in advance that 20% is untouchable, you remove the decision entirely. There's nothing to resist. The money moves, the system runs, and slowly, month by month, something powerful starts to happen. You stop living month to month. You build a cushion. That cushion gives you options. Options give you confidence. And confidence changes how you make every other financial decision. There's also something deeper here. People who have savings, even small ones, make fundamentally different choices than people who don't. Not because they're smarter, but because desperation is gone. When you have a buffer, you don't panic buy. You don't take the first job offer out of fear. You don't lend money you can't afford to lose just to avoid an awkward conversation. Zero savings doesn't just affect your bank account, it affects your judgment. And the 50-30-20 rule, even imperfectly applied, begins to break that cycle. Let's make this real. Say you bring home $3,500 a month after taxes, pretty typical for a lot of Americans in their 20s and 30s. Here's exactly what that looks like through the 50-30-20 lens. $1,750 goes to your needs. That's rent, groceries, your car payment, gas, insurance, utilities, the essentials that keep your life running. $1,050 goes to your wants, dining out, your streaming stack, weekend plans, personal spending, social activities. That's actually a solid amount of breathing room. $700 goes to your future. That's your high-yield savings account first and foremost. If you're carrying credit card debt at 20% interest, a chunk of this attacks that first, because no investment reliably beats that rate. And once you've built 3 to 6 months of expenses as an emergency fund, that $700 starts flowing into long-term wealth building, your 401k, if your employer matches, a Roth IRA, index funds, whatever fits your situation and timeline. Now, here's what to do if you're starting from zero. Don't try to be perfect. The 50-30-20 rule isn't a law, it's a direction. If your rent currently eats 60% of your income, which is the reality for a lot of people in cities like New York, LA, or San Francisco, you don't wait until you can afford a cheaper place to start. You start with what you can. Even $50 a month saved automatically is infinitely better than $0 saved occasionally. Open a separate high-yield savings account today, just for savings. Many online banks are offering 4 or 5% interest right now, so your money actually grows while it sits. Name that account something that means something to you. Emergency fund, freedom money, get me out of here, whatever keeps it real. Then set up an automatic transfer for the day after your paycheck hits. Take the decision out of your hands entirely. The habit is more important than the amount right now. Every month, try to grow it. 1% more, 2% more, until the day 20% feels like your new normal. Here's the thought I want to leave you with. The gap between people who build wealth and people who stay stuck is rarely about income. It's rarely about intelligence. It's almost always about one thing: whether or not they have a system. A system removes the daily battle with your own impulses. It removes the guilt of spending. It removes the anxiety of I don't know where my money went. It gives every dollar a job before it arrives. The 50-30-20 rule is not complicated, it's not glamorous, it doesn't promise to make you rich overnight. But here's what it does promise. If you apply it consistently, 6 months from now, you will not be starting from zero. And that changes everything. Because saving isn't really about money, it's about options. And options are freedom. So the question isn't whether you can afford to save 20% right now. The real question is, can you afford not to? That brings us to the very end. And to you, yes you, having stayed with us to this very end, I say thank you. And one more thing that is very important, remember to subscribe, comment your own opinion, like and share for others to learn. Stay blessed and see you in the next one.